Hi, it's Cami here. How are you doing? I am going to be talking to you today about how to hire contractors for your business. Whether you be a contractor yourself, like say you're a contractor looking to hire subcontractors, or if you have a business and you know that you need to get a few things done. My name is Cami Hoyza, and I own Zoetica Media. We are a social media marketing agency, and because of that, we have a lot of tasks that go on inside of our company. And so early on in our company, I started to feel the pressure of doing all the things. And so I have come up with some ways to hire and manage contractors that I wanted to share with you today. So I don't do this as a service. Like, I'm not going to hire your contractor for you, but I am going to tell you how to get the best results out of contractors and sort of what to do along that front. So I'm going to jump right into what we're going to talk about so that way we can just get into your questions if you have any. Definitely let me know if you're here in replay or you listen later. Just send me a DM or leave a comment if you're somewhere like that so I know that you're here. And yeah, I'll answer all your questions as we go along. So I'm going to just do like I normally do, and I'm going to show you the 5 things I'm going to go over in the next, 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm going to give you some of the tools I use. I'm going to tell you all the things that we do. But really, the first one is knowing your own working style. Hey, Tracy, knowing your own working style is really important. And I'll go through all of that in a minute. Create a narrow scope of work to do a test project. That's really important. So I'll go over how I do that. Hire specialists versus generalists. And I'll give you an example of when you should hire each. So sometimes you do need a generalist, but for specialists are better for your first time out. Then set up clear lines of communication. That is so critical to everything you do. And then the fifth one is really treat them as part of the family. Let me kind of jump in. So way back in the day when I first started my business, it was actually 20 years ago on April 13th. So in a week or so, I've been in business for 20 years. But one of my first clients, or one of my first big clients, was a big corporation or whatever, and they had hired me to come in and write their employee newsletter, and they treated me like I was part of their team or part of their staff. And I loved it. I was like, it really made me feel like I was a part of what they did. It made me work hard. It really made me want to do better for them as a contractor. So, in my experiences as a contractor, that fifth step was born. But the first thing is that this person, and it's Fran Stevenson. Hopefully, you hear this, Fran, because she was amazing as a contracting boss. So the funny thing about being a contractor is that my kids always joke that I don't have a boss, that I am the boss. And I laugh and I'm like, no, I have like tons of bosses. I have all of our clients, and even my staff have to be a little bit of a boss to me sometimes, like, get this, we need this from you or whatever. So that in-service thing I kind of learned from that first experience. And she did a great job of making me feel like I was part of their team and really working hard. And so that was something that I think is really important. But the main thing is that if you're a person that's giving out work to other people, I know that I hear this a lot. I hear people say, well, I can't hire someone like a VA, a virtual assistant or something, because even when I do, I don't know what to give them. I don't know what to tell them to do. So that's my first point that I'm going to make today, is that you have to know your own working style. So are you a person that needs to talk through things? Are you a person that does better with lists? How do you get your work done for yourself right now? And you can tailor the way that you work with your contractors to your style. And you have to find contractors that are willing to work with your style. So for me, I like to meet, like when I got my first VA, the big thing for me was just like, how do I organize things? And so when that happened, I just would be hanging out with her 1 hour every week. I paid her to basically talk through my week with me. So I would like start on a Monday and with my first VA, and we'd meet for an hour, and then we would, we planned the week. And that's, just something that at that time I needed. I now don't need that anymore. I'm very good at like planning my own time. But back then, when I first got that VA, I wasn't sure what to give her. I wasn't sure exactly what to do. And so we spent an hour like figuring that out. And then she'd say, I could take this, this, and this off your plate. And that really helped. Another thing you can do if this is good for you is to take a pad of paper and put it beside your desk And as you do tasks, just write them down for the day and just monitor for the entire week the tasks that you do on a like a legal pad or something. And then at the end of the week, go through and highlight the ones that you think I hate doing this, or I think I could give this to somebody. So those are the ways that you can start to get those things that you know that you can give to other people down on paper. So it's either like hire somebody like I did, jump into the deep end and work with them and meet with them like once a week and go over everything, and then they help you tell you what they can help you do. Or you can do what I just told you, which is like write down everything you have and then move on. So when I first I got help. As I told you, I got a virtual assistant, and I didn't really have a whole lot in mind for what I wanted them to do. I just knew that I couldn't do all the tasks anymore. I just was really overwhelmed by the tasks. And so when I sat down with my first VA, she was really great at putting that together for me and helping me do that. A couple of months later, maybe 6 or 8 months, she actually went on and had a baby, and she went off. And my service that I use, which is Zirtual, Zirtual. I'll put all these links here in a minute, but Zirtual is what I used and still do actually as my VA service. And they sent me another VA. Well, this woman she didn't like meeting with me. She didn't want to meet with me for that hour because I think she was doing other things too. I think she was just trying to balance her own schedule. She had a bricks and mortar business, and I think she was doing VA work sort of as a way to supplement. And that didn't work for me because it was just like I have to have at that time I needed that 1 hour to kind of get there. So you kind of have to know your working style and make sure that your VA matches with that. So they put me with another person, and that person worked out great. And then that person stayed with me for several years. And now I have another person that's been with me for 5 years. So I've been doing this VA thing for a very long time. So I've kind of gotten better at it. But at first it was really hard, right? And so I do remember that. And so if you're feeling that way, like, you're just not sure what to give them and you're afraid to give them something, then, go there. I also want to say that if you're afraid that you can't pay them, that was my concern too. Like, can I really afford to like hire a VA and they're going to take a bit of my profit? And that was true, I guess. But on the other hand, it opened me up to bring on other clients. So it gave me more capacity. So I didn't exactly like, just go and sip Mai Tais after I got my VA. I got other clients and got more busy, right? And so the cool thing about the VA is she, and still does, work that is billable. So if you give a VA a task that's billable, you can actually, pay for them in that way as well. Yes, it was hard for me. Tracy's here, and Tracy works with me as well. So on this front, it is hard for me to do this sometimes. So there you are. So the second thing that I want you to see here is to create a narrow scope of work and do a test project. So one of the things that might help you feel more confident in hiring a VA or a helper is really creating a very narrow scope of work. One of the biggest mistakes that I see when people hire contractors is they try to hire a contractor that can do everything. Like, oh, I need somebody to be able to do graphic design and write my emails and do my calendaring and do all the travel arrangements and I don't know, cook my dinner. I don't know. People, they expect too much of one person. And so, one of the things that I found to be really helpful is that when you hire, you can hire for a very specific task. And then you'll see what that person can do. I mean, that person might expand to do other things for you if you can find out. So, a good example of this is a couple of years ago, I hired a technical VA. And it turned out that she was an amazing writer. It was really random. I mean, she was really great. She set up my Kajabi for my course, and she was great with the technical side. But she also turned out to be an excellent writer, and she wrote for us for quite a while. And so, yeah, she's moved on to other projects now. And I have another contractor who is actually amazing at writing too, Andrea, and she just focuses on writing. That's what she does for us: blog posts, emails, all of that. So, she does the writing part. But again, I did not have all these different people. Like at the beginning, I had one VA. But even with her, I thought, the first thing I'm going to give her is my calendar. So I did that first because I'm kind of bad at calendaring. I get very confused about dates and I forget. And And so I said, "Here, I'm going to give you my calendar." So she started calendaring for me pretty early on, and that was really great. She took that off my plate. But then later she said, "Hey, I really love to do graphics," and so now she does all the Canva graphics for the social media breakfast, for example. And I didn't know even that she even liked to do that. So it's great if you work with somebody for a long period of time, especially a contractor, and you'll get to see what their interests are and help them to grow into those interests. So that's an example. So the third thing here is to hire specialists instead of generalists. So yeah, I think this is the most important thing right here to start with, is that you want to hire specialists to begin and do little projects. I just gave you an example of the technical VA that I hired specifically to put together my online course materials into Kajabi, because I can do all that stuff, by the way. That's the other thing. If you're like me, you're like a little bit, capable of doing all these things. But should you be doing them? That's the question. I know a lot of people talk about this, and I'm not saying give away everything that you do for your work. I'm not one of those that says, hey, try to like never do anything. I don't think that that's going to be realistic for most businesses. But I do say that if you start with specialists that do specific things, it works a lot better because they can focus in on that. They're more successful. So for a VA specifically, I mean, they're a little bit more of a generalist, right? So occasionally you're going to want to hire a generalist, but I would say if you hire a generalist, often they're going to be an employee of yours. So like your first employee probably should be somewhat of a generalist, just so that they can take a lot of things off your plate. And then maybe your second employer and third employer are more like specialists, because now you're big enough to be able to support a specialist in a specific role. But when you first start, definitely you want to use if you're using contractors, you're going to want them to be specialists, because they're going to do so much better at that job and do it faster. And even if they're a little bit more per hour, they're going to do it faster than a generalist ever would. So that's just a really like a big tip, is like start small and do test projects with them. So you're not hiring them forever. You can say, hey, I'm just going to hire you for this one little project. And then if it works out, you move forward. There's a lot of great services that you can use to hire these contractors that are specialists. My favorite is Upwork. And I actually pulled up my dashboard so I can show you Upwork. Right now, I'm not using an Upwork person, but that's exactly where I found my tech employee. So what's great, yeah, they're not going in Russia. That's good. You can search for a specific skill. So like what I did is I came in and I typed Kajabi, because I was like, I need to hire somebody who can help me with Kajabi, right? And so I came in and I put Kajabi into there and I searched for it. So you can do that too. So if you have a specific thing, like maybe it's your email autoresponder, mine is ConvertKit. So I would put ConvertKit in there and see who specializes in working on ConvertKit. And then you're just going to get much better results. You can then also look at them as freelancers or agencies, or only freelancers. This means that some of the people on Upwork are agencies, meaning they have like people that they are working with. I don't really care as long as they get good results. The nice thing about this is they have like a lot of information. Oh gosh, there's some new things here, I can tell. Okay, sorry guys. There's some new things here. Like for example, this is FAR, and a lot of them are overseas. That's true. You can, narrow it down to certain locations. So if you want only US based, you can. You can offer consultations. You can do all kinds of things down here. But one of the things I like to see is a really high job success, and a lot of people that they've worked with. So I usually look at that as my rating system to figure out who I'm going to work with. So giving you some ideas there. I'll show you how this looks now that I got it up. Sorry, here it is. It took me like a minute for this to kind of load. So this is how it looks whenever you're searching for somebody. So I just searched for Kajabi, and now you can see I have all these people. So FAR is $35 an hour, and looks like the going rate is sort of $35 an hour right now, which is fine. This guy's 120 an hour. And he maybe does a little bit more full service for you. So you've got to look and see what you like. But generally speaking, I will go through. This person lives in the United States. She calls herself a human Swiss Army knife with Kajabi and online course design. So if you're doing an online course, she may be really, really helpful to you if you're new at it, getting it all up and running. These people are very, very skilled. I found on Upwork, generally speaking, I've had very good success with the people I found on Upwork to work on this. The other way you can do it, if you don't like that option, which is fine, is word of mouth. So asking your friends, like, that do the same thing that you do. How do you do this? And who do you work with? And I know a lot of my friends have hired people that I work with, and vice versa. So we will work with each other and and find really great talent locally. So if you prefer that, that's another way to go. Is just really like honing in on the freelance community in your area, and then just looking for people who might work. The problem with that, of course, is you don't have a lot of ability to see how other people have worked with them like you can on Upwork. The other thing that's nice about Upwork is you don't have to do the 1099 and that kind of stuff with those people. Upwork takes care of that for you, which when you first start, honestly, that's one of the big ones. Because if you hire a consultant directly, you have to do a 1099 for them. You have to report to the state that you hired them. Usually, most states in the United States require it. So that's why I like working with Upwork on that, although I do have a system for that now. So I have no problems with that. But on the other hand, you will. If you're new at this, it's so much better to go through a service, whether it be Upwork or Zirtual that I told you about. So that's sort of how that looks. So let's go over again what we've talked about so far and move on to the next step. But I just want to go over it again. So knowing your working style, creating a narrow scope of work and doing a test project, hiring specialists versus generalists. They're going to do a better job and they're going to get like the job done. And you will also be sometimes pleasantly surprised by the other things they can do. And then setting up clear lines of communication. That is so important. It's probably the most important part of this. So we use a tool called ClickUp, which is an online, management tool. But you can use anything: Trello, a Google spreadsheet. With my early VAs, we use Google spreadsheets just to keep everything organized. What I love about ClickUp is that when you can put people in there, assign a task, and then they can tag you when they're done, and you can go back and forth. It does take a little getting used to. You have to actually check it. You can set it up to send you emails to remind you when things are happening. But in the end of the day, you have to have a really strong communications channel that everybody is bought into and using. So we use ClickUp, and we use it with all of our contractors, including like one that is, just all he does is research. He goes out and researches all the new things that are going on, and then he puts it into a spreadsheet, and then he tags both Tracy, who's here, and I, and then we go back through and grab those things, read them, get ourselves up to date, and then report on them. Things like, new things that are happening in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So we actually have a process where we're keeping on top of all that through this VA. And so that's all he does is go out there and do the spreadsheets for us. Nothing else. He doesn't write it. He doesn't do anything else. It's very specialized. So we have different people that do that because that would be tedious for my team to do on a regular basis. I want my team to be able to think about how to write the things and put them out there, and the more the strategy side and the execution. And then, of course, I told you at the beginning how important it is to treat your contractors like their family. So one of the things that, and that's my fifth point here, which I don't think you can see underneath there, but really treating them as a part of your family or part of your team. Because here's the thing: if you treat people well, they're going to work harder for you, A. And B, if you treat people well, they're going to, refer you to other people as well. So I just feel like it's really important to treat contractors with respect and not treat them as like, well, you're just a disposable thing and I need you to get this thing done. And that's, I'm probably preaching to the choir to anybody who's here right now, because all of you I know are probably amazing. But I do know that this happens a lot. Where contractors are treated like, you're just disposable. That's why you're here. You're not one of our employees. That's why we're doing this. But all of our contractors, we treat them with great respect. That's really, really important to me. So that's something that I think that that you should consider, because I think you're going to get better performance out of people, A, if you do, and number two, it's going to make you a better person. So yeah, so that's it. So those are the 5 things that I would recommend. And the tools that I love the most are Upwork for finding really great contractors that are specialists. I love Upwork for that. And of course, word of mouth. If you are part of a big entrepreneurial community and you can find people locally, I love to find people locally. I use people locally all the time. But you have to have a really good network to know who you're getting into there. And then, so those are my 2 favorite tools for finding people. And then of course ClickUp, which we use like on the daily to make sure that we're keeping up with things. You could also use even a communication channel like Slack. That's a non-synchronous. So one of the things I found about contractors especially is that if you expect them to like jump on a Zoom call with you, they don't really like to do that. And I'll tell you why. They would spend all day on Zoom instead of doing their work. So you need some sort of asynchronous communications channel where they can communicate when they're doing their work, whenever that is. So one of the things about contractors is because they're not your employees, you cannot tell them where and when to work. So, they can work at midnight if they want to. So you want to have an asynchronous channel where you can get back and forth to each other. So that is how I do it. I will pull up this 5 steps again so you can see them at the end, and I will just really quickly go over each one. Know your own working style, create a narrow scope of work and do a test project, hire specialists versus generalists, set up very clear lines of communications, and then treat them as part of your family. And I will tell you, if you do these 5 things, you will have a very successful relationship with your contractors and you will get great work out of them. So that's it. Oh, thank you, Tracy. That is definitely my goal. So, if you have any questions about this, I mean, we've done this for a while. I can tell you what we're doing right now. We're a group of 6 people. We have a mixture of employees and contractors. And we've been doing this for, again, I told you this is our 20th anniversary coming up. So I have been the person like you who has no people helping me. I've been the person who's worked in a team internally in a company where I was the only one. And then like I started to hire people internally and work with contractors internally. So I've done both internal contract work as like as an employee of a business, hiring contractors. And I've also now done hiring contractors as a business owner myself. So in that case, I just have a lot of experience with this, and yeah, I've made a lot of the mistakes, but I think that grace covers them all if you can work together as a team. And yes, if a contractor doesn't work out, then you just need to be very firm and clear and move on with grace and kindness so that there's no bridges that are burned. So you definitely want the contractor to walk away understanding that you were fair, right? So that's part of it. And on the other hand, hopefully they will do the same, right? They hopefully will not burn the bridge with you. So in the end of the day, I hope this helps you, and I will definitely go back to the comments and the sections of all wherever you're watching this, and I will put the links to all of the things that I just talked about in the actual comments. But right now I can't do it because you won't see them, so I will put them in there right away. So if you are looking for these tools, you can grab them for sure. So anyway, if you have a question, let me know. I don't see any right now, but I will definitely answer any if you put them in the replay. And thank you so much for being here today. I will talk to you soon, and I'll be back here next Thursday with another social media mastery moment. Bye.